high school student Sean out in Pennsylvania. Now, Sean, you're telling me they charged you $125 for missing school. Did you pay this fine?
I thought it was $125 by what my mom said, but I just got it. $170.50.
$170.50. And now, what was the reason for this? What was their explanation?
Well, I thought it was for me being sick for the 3 days. But according to this, it says I was sick for 18 days with no excuse. 18 days with no excuse. Even then, they don't have the right to charge you $170 because you missed school. I need you to scan this in and send it to Aaron at InfoWars.com or Rob D at InfoWars.com with attention to Jason Bermas, because I need to see this. I need to put this on my blog. This is just simply outrageous, Sean. I can't even believe that this happened, but I can believe it because the school systems are more Nazi-like than ever. You got anything else for me, Sean? One other thing. My brother, he's kind of got interested in picking wild berries and stuff, like picking wild food. Do you know anything that would help him with that?
Well, I'm sure he can go online and find some kind of a nature's guide to, what's out there, what to eat, what not to eat. I am definitely no survivalist by any means. I mean, I know the littlest bit of how to get by. I am a survivor, but I ain't no survivalist. So go check that out. Sean, please send me this information. I really, really want it. I thank you for the call. Let's jump to Brian in Florida. The call line is 866-582-9933. That's 866-582-9933. Brian, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good, man.
Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to, like everybody else, you've inspired me like everybody else that calls in and tells you each night. You've really inspired me to a point, though, where I'm currently working on a film about 9/11 first responders called 3 Weeks in September.
Excellent.
You can get there from 3weeksinSeptember.com. But also listening to you this evening, talking about how we need to be the warriors, we need to do these things. I've been inspired to purchase a number of domains tonight, and some of those we can talk about offline, but they may be apropos to what you're doing with InfoWarriors as far as your moniker goes.
Oh, excellent, man. Send me a link over so we don't have to discuss it online, but send me a link over at my MySpace or my Facebook, or do the same thing with Rob D or Aaron, and I'll go and check it out. I mean, when they forward me stuff, I sometimes check my email, but my email is really secondary. I really do go through my MySpace and Facebook because that's where I really find the best tips. But yeah, we have to be proactive. I mean, that caller in the first hour, her and a bunch of other people start emailing the town. They say, we want the fluoride out of the water. Now the mainstream press there, the local paper, is covering it on the front page. They have a real shot of getting the fluoride out of the water. If we just stand up and say, no, they can't make us. And the story I talked about yesterday, where it said that 18% of the population would take the shot for the swine flu vaccine. They tried to say, less than a third of the people. No, that's less than 20%. That's less than 1 in 5. That shows, yeah, exactly. That shows, yeah, it's less than 30% too, but it's actually less than 20%. And it shows that their PSYOP did not work. And it shows that people are not going to line up for a mandatory 3-shot vaccine if the government tells them to take it. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I appreciate everything you just said, and I agree. It takes all of us standing up together to raise the voice, to do what we were impassioned to do by the founding fathers, to stand up for liberty, to use those tools that they gave us, to speak freely, to bring to the attention of our fellow man things that we saw going on in our country, whether it's a position other people support or not. That's our right and that's our duty, is to bring these things to attention. Ultimately, we may fail because people will decide that they want to be wards of the state, and that may happen. I, for one, do not want to see that happen, and therefore I, myself, you, other people are raising our voices as we were empowered to do. Really,
yeah, no, exactly. You know what?
Company.
I got that email yesterday, and they said, we can't win. You know it. I know it. We can't win. Look, our destiny is not set in stone. It is not pre-written, in my opinion. And even if it is, I'm going down swinging. I am not going to live on my knees. I'd rather die on my feet. And I think more people need to take that attitude, inform themselves, and then find the great power that lies within themselves to decide how they can combat this situation, whether it's making movies, having a radio show, taking street actions, burning other people's DVDs, renting out a theater, showing these things at your local high school, your local church, your local college, your local community center, going down to the basketball courts where you see the young youth, giving them DVDs, getting people hip to it in so many ways, things I can't think of. People who are doing highway blogging, they get a big sheet, they do some spray painting of a website. Literally tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in some areas get to see that there's so much we can do rather than just lie down and take it. I mean, I don't want to be tortured, like that guy in Saudi Arabia and have no recourse. That's not what I want in this country, so I'm going to fight it. I thank you for the call, Brian. Let's go to Marty in New Jersey. Marty, you're on the line. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Jason.
How are you, Marty?
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Listen, I thought I'd give you a call with a little bit of an update about what's going on in public health.
Okay.
What's really pretty interesting is that I wound up into an argument the other day. Not a real argument, but a disagreement with a fully trained nurse, government trained nurse about how the inoculations are so good and all this. And I happen to run a lead program. Okay, and what I do is I have kids tested, and if the kids have elevated lead levels, well, we do things to try to change it, to bring them down, okay? But what I found out is that they can't, get the benefits of a lead program without making sure that all of their vaccines are up to date and current.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, if you have lead poisoning, you also have to be update on your mandatory vaccinations or you can't get treated. You're not allowed to be treated for lead poisoning if you haven't taken all your shots.
You better believe it, baby. That's
unbelievable.
Absolutely the truth. And I thought I was going to fall on the floor. And then I told them that I refused to take any vaccines that were coming up. I said, these are invented just like the diseases were. They said, well, you're in the circle now. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I ain't taking them.
Well, how can they even say that when you have this biologist coming out who was one of the guys that created Tamiflu? He's 75 years old, and he's saying this might be a lab escape. It was very played down in the media. Bloomberg and ABC picked up on it. But he said it may be a lab escape. But remember, if it was made in a lab, and he said that's the simplest explanation, that this latest swine flu was made in a lab, simplest explanation, but it was accidentally let out. It would never be our loving government that would release something like this. Meanwhile, in 1971, it's now declassified that the CIA let African swine fever out in Cuba. So they released a bioweapon very similar to the one that was just released in Cuba over 30 years ago. But they'd never do it again, especially not to us.
To Bill Deagle. Bill Deagle was offered an opportunity to do these nefarious things, and he refused.
Well, I'm glad there are some people out there that are refusing to do these nefarious things under the color of law and the code of enforcement. I thank you for the call, Marty. We're going to jump. Let's go to Josh in Ontario. Josh, you're on the line. Yes, sir. Oh, Sean in Minneapolis, you're on the line.
Hey, good evening to you, Jason. I want to get your perspective. I just saw a documentary recently called September Clues. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
What's your take on it?
I think it's total bull. All right. Listen, the one thing that they keep playing over and over again, nose out, nose out, nose out, West Cam, nose out. Look, that's one video. Then you look at the other videos from the other side that are much closer, and yeah, it does look like there is this protruding thing on the other side. I don't know whether it's the fuselage on the plane, whether or not it was a drone, or maybe it shot a missile, or maybe it's one of the engines that pierces through. But that doesn't prove to me, quote unquote, TV fakery. On top of that, there are now, September Clues came out probably I want to say two plus years ago, close to 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more. It was just before we released Loose Change Final Cut. I'm pretty sure they put it out. Anyway, there are even more videos of the second plane hitting the World Trade Center released by Pent Bomb only 6 months ago. A lot of the videos that were taken by amateurs. Now, some of the amateurs were across the Hudson River, okay? And the one in particular that I like to point to that literally to me proves there is no way that TV fakery even is a remote possibility is the one over the Hudson River, where you can barely see the plane. I mean, it's like this little gray blotch with wings. And as it approaches the World Trade Center, it almost blends in as they're similar colors. You know what I'm saying? And this video will coincide with the Jennifer Spell video, the CNN video, all this other stuff, right? And the flash is still there when you can barely see the plane. That flash under the right-hand side of the fuselage, basically a little bit to the left of where the engine would be, is still in the video. So you're telling me that they faked all the media reports, then they faked all the amateur footage. No one caught amateur footage of the plane not hitting the building and never released it because